And away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who were able to join us for the live portion. And of course, if you are listening somewhere else and you wanted to get involved in the live portion, you can find it Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. Being joined by Monkey today. The only feline in the room, Monkey, you can see him over my shoulder, sitting on top of the printer there, getting cleaned up. He's feeling better. Monkey was sick for a few days, but he's doing much better now, as you can see. And of course, as always, I do try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable. So I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have been able to chime in thus far. I see Helter is with us today, as well as Donna Beaver, who reminds us, thumbs up, like, and share. Please do, if you don't mind. Thumbs up and share if possible. Dragon is here, as well as Chillin' Dave. That's who's chosen to say hello so far, as we get ready to dig in to what is going on in the world today. What turmoils are they throwing at us in the media, forcing us to watch, triggering us with? What molehills are they making into mountains, as Aesop would say? We'll start off, of course, in Winder again, because there's more been revealed about the entire situation with the Appalachian High School in Winder, if I pronounced that correctly. This is a Fox Atlanta article, so local news article. Appalachian High School accused shooter's mother called the school, according to the Washington Post. So there it is. It says new information has emerged about the tragic shooting at Appalachian High School. According to reports from the Washington Post, the mother of the accused shooter called the school minutes before the incident to warn staff about her son's behavior. It was a lot more than minutes. It was a lot longer than that, but we'll get, hopefully it'll tell you in the article. The report states that the mother, McCree Gray, spoke to a school counselor half an hour. Okay, that's not minutes. Half an hour before the incident occurred. Text messages obtained by the Post revealed that she urged the counselor to locate her son immediately and check on him, expressing concerns over his recent comments about a school shooting that morning. So he was sitting around the breakfast table, I guess, just saying, hey, I think I'm going to go blast the school today. In response, a school administrator entered the suspect's math class around that time, but a misunderstanding arose involving another student with a similar name. The administrator mistakenly confiscated a backpack belonging to the other student. Neither the accused shooter nor the student with a similar name was in the class at the time. Minutes later, the incident began. Interesting. And I see Brian has joined us today. And I find it hard to believe that he couldn't find this kid, that he just, or that he would just walk into the office. This is a high school we're talking about, right? Now, again, I used to work for the Juvenile Justice Authority, and I had to work closely with several schools in the Topeka area, including Topeka High School, which is a large facility. And I imagine it's probably comparable in size to the one in Winder. All right. And their school security office had 6 on-duty officers. I think it was 6. And they had 8 or 10 monitors that were block covering. And remember, this was, 15 years ago maybe now? Covering something like I want to say they said it was 128 or 138 cameras. And if they wanted to find somebody, that computer could find it. So why is the counselor walking around checking on the math class looking for this kid? Why wasn't school security told to do it? Why didn't they search for him? Doesn't sound like he was taking it too seriously. Chillin says if it's true, at least she tried to do something or anything. Correct. At least she was suspicious. It was making her nervous, thinking about something that he said that just seemed like it was off. Maybe I should call the school. So at least an effort was made. And Yahweh thinks it's a Manchurian candidate for a false flag. Possible. You can't rule out the possibility. Can't say if it is or not because, YouTube and all that, Google, and you know how they are. And it goes on. The rest of the article just talks about what happened. We know what happened. We know what happened that day, or at least what was reported. But evidently, mom did reach out to the school, to the counselor, and for some reason, rather than alerting school security, the counselor wandered around, meandered his way into the math class and looked for the wrong kid. Interesting. And Raccoon has joined us, as well as Fluke Man. Glad you could make it today. Monkey keeping me company in the background. For those of you who are watching, you can probably see him over my shoulder there, cleaning himself up. He is feeling better today because he was sick last week. But yeah, I just find it difficult to believe they couldn't locate this kid. But then again, evidently this guy didn't do it the right way, because you're forced to take everything seriously. If a kid says that they're going to kill themselves, for example, you got to pull out all the stops. You can't just ignore it. And these kids know that. Every person that I've ever worked with in JJA who said they were going to hurt themselves, they never actually intended to. They were doing it for attention because they know that you'd have to jump through hoops. The law requires it. And I find it difficult to believe that the law required that the math teacher, or not the math teacher, but rather the counselor, wander around the school looking to see if he can spot this kid. Oh, is so-and-so in your class? Can I see his backpack? Come on. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. It sounds to me like he wasn't taking it too seriously. I'm sure there has to be school security. I'm sure they have school police in that high school. I know that the junior high that's not too far from where I am, it's got officers out there. The high school's got to have them, especially since that's closer to Atlanta than I am, right? Does that make sense to anybody? That's their job. Counselor calls school security office. Hey, see if you can locate such and such. His mother thinks he's armed. They'll find him. That's what they're there for. That's what they're there for. And that bothers me because to me now I'm thinking, that could have been avoided. Never mind the fact that he was under investigation for more than a year by the FBI anyways, which has already been revealed. Oh, he was a person of interest. Way to go, FBI. Thanks for being on top of that. As if things couldn't get stupider. As if things couldn't get stupid. And Chillin' Dave says, pull the wrong kid in the office and the left will sue everyone involved. Well, no, because when your kids are on school property, they don't have any rights anyways. And since there was a viable threat, they would have got away with it. And Semper Fi has joined us here today, just in time to talk about Venezuela, because there has been some update there as well. Al Jazeera has this article. After Edmundo Gonzalez flees, what's next for Venezuela and its opposition? Because guess what? The guy that everybody says won the election has now fled Venezuela in exile. He's no longer in the country. He ran. He caught a flight on a Spanish military jet, if I'm not mistaken. So there we are. Venezuelan opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez has fled to Spain, seeking political asylum amid turmoil in his country after a disputed presidential election. The opposition presidential candidate arrived at the Torrejón de Ardoz military base in the Spanish capital, Madrid, with his wife on Sunday, according to a statement by Spain's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yep, Spain got him out. of all people, while everyone thought the United States was going to do it. Gonzalez, who has accused President Nicolas Maduro of election fraud, fled the country after an arrest warrant was issued last week as part of an intensified government crackdown on the opposition. Sound familiar? Which, of course, the United States condemns. How dare they do that? How dare they? How dare they try to weaponize the Justice Department of Venezuela against a political opponent? Really? Sound familiar? Because it's happening right now in the United States. Says the National Electoral Council said Maduro won re-election with 51% of the vote, his third win since he first took over as president in 2013 after the death of his mentor and charismatic president Hugo Chavez. The United Socialist Party has been in power for the last 25 years, and it's worked out so well for them. It's worked out so well for them. All those American students or UK students or wherever that think socialism is so great, they should go spend the summer in Venezuela. But the opposition said the results of the July 28th election were rigged. It said its volunteers obtained 73% of the tally sheets issued by electronic voting machines, and they showed Gonzalez was the real winner of the election. Maduro won 30% of the vote, it says. And way back when this first happened, we showed, or I showed to the people that were watching, graphs from the Dominion voting machines for the Georgia runoff election, the presidential election, and the Venezuelan election, because the same software was used for all of them, and it had the same sudden jump and curve, the exact same one. And all three of those elections were won by a hair in the same fashion. The graphs were almost identical, which is astronomically impossible. But yeah, big surprise there. I see Monkey has joined us as well. Brian said that he probably is soaking in the sun on a beach on the other side of the world under a new identity. No, he's not quite done yet. You mean Gonzalez? Yeah, Gonzalez isn't done milking this. He's just in exile now, but it's not like anybody's going to send him back to Venezuela. That's just not going to happen. So he's safe. He doesn't have to completely hide. It's not like he was the president and he was ousted and he needs to run like the president of Afghanistan the day after the United States abandoned the country. That guy's on the run and fearing for his life. Helder said, nothing says I'm president of Venezuela like applying for asylum in Spain. Exactly. There you go. There you go. But that's what he's done. That's what happened. What are you going to do? He was afraid. Oh, I mean, I can't say I blame him. I can't say I blame him. Maduro is definitely in power. He's not going anywhere, whether he won, lost, or drew. He had an arrest warrant for this guy. You really think he would... You really think he would have lasted in custody? Interesting. I don't think he would have lasted long in custody. He would have had a heart attack or committed suicide. Thoughts? Dragon says, iconic that Spain allows political asylum when they can't digest simple referendums and pardon its opposition. If they have a problem with Venezuela, they'll do it. And Tuck is here. Glad you could make it. And Brian says some countries don't extradite people. Correct. Some do not. Or some won't do it under certain circumstances either. It depends on what it is. Flukeman says, I'm sure his assets all around the world keep him comfortable. That's a possibility. I don't know what his assets are. I don't know what his net worth is off the top of my head. I couldn't imagine Edmundo Gonzalez. I don't know if that's even available. If there's anything like that. Okay, there is something. If this is the same Edmundo Gonzalez, if this is the right one, he's worth $203,000. Mostly in stock options. Just looked that up out of curiosity really quickly. I don't know if that's enough to keep him comfortable overseas indefinitely. Dragon says, speaking of extradition, I heard the Japanese government was successful in getting the U.S. government to divulge private information on U.S. nationals. They're trying to prosecute those people. Really? Really? Well, I mean, you can't tell Biden, but apparently Japan is supposed to be one of our allies. Supposed to be our allies. And while we've been on the subject, this came up several times last week. New York, the FBI is hammering everybody connected with the mayor really, really hard. Eric Adams, that is, and here he is pictured with the commissioner, the police commissioner. Everyone around him is falling like dominoes. Falling like dominoes. And the Daily Beast here has the article that says the feds tell the New York Police Department not to destroy electronic files. So federal agents served the New York Police Department with an evidence preservation letter ordering them to not destroy any electronic files as they investigate alleged corruption and influence peddling by Police Commissioner Edward Caban's twin brother, James Caban. The letter follows a myriad of subpoenas targeting high-ranking members of Mayor Eric Adams' administration, according to a police source. The feds believe there is evidence of corruption, you think, on devices seized from James's home. The commissioner's home was also raided on Wednesday. James, a former cop, allegedly created a nightlife consultancy company, really, and told the clubs to hire his employees on the promise that I'll be able to make your place safer. Sources also told the New York Post that James claimed he could call in favors from precinct commanders, his brother or deputy mayor or public safety Philip Banks, should they have any trouble. Due to suspicion of money exchanging hands in illicit business dealings, the IRS is now also involved in the probes. Oh, if the IRS is involved, he's about as good as dead here. So now, on top of everything else, the New York City Police Department has been warned not to accidentally erase anything. Don't delete any files of any kind at all until we get done picking through them. And of course, the argument can be made, and it has been made. This all started happening when Eric Adams started mouthing off at the Biden administration. That could be the reasoning behind it. But all that has happened is that they started cutting the strings and exposing the dirt, because all this was already going on. It's just that no one said anything. Dragon says apparently it had something to do with violating Japanese copyright law on U.S. soil. All the extradition you were speaking of in the other comment. So digging deeper into this, more names are coming out, more people are having their homes raided, more electronic devices are being seized. Now the FBI and the IRS apparently want records from the New York City Police Department and have warned them not to okey doke any of those files. Whoops, we deleted the wrong ones. My bad. Which happens, which does happen. FBI acting like they're actually going to do their jobs here instead of just intimidating people, which it seems like that's all they do anymore, is just threaten and intimidate people. Show up at the homes of YouTubers and ask them questions about Obama. Some of you know what I'm talking about there. Not anything that happened to me, but some of you are aware of what I'm talking about there. And of course, since we're on the subject of corruption in China, in New York, but this is about China though, CNN article, and I can answer this question in a heartbeat, and I just think it's funny that they're speculating about this at all. CNN, an alleged Chinese agent went undetected in New York state government for years. Yeah, more than a decade. Why it may have taken so long for authorities to act. And it goes on and on talking about talking about the woman who was accused of espionage here. What's her name? Sun. On and on and on. Sun held several positions in state government, including Director of Asian American Affairs. As part of her work at multiple state agencies during the Kumo and Hochul administrations and amidst the historically fraught tensions between China and Taiwan, federal prosecutors alleged Sun consistently blocked Taiwanese officials from having access to New York officials, so on and so forth. And they're speculating on why this is. And they say here, a governor, and this is a quote from Rob Kellner, I believe, a governor and their staff are going to tend to be trusting of the people they hire, and people aren't normally going to assume that someone is working as a foreign agent when they're working for the governor's office. People also have some cultural sensitivity around wanting to accuse an Asian American of being a foreign agent. So all those things together make it relatively easy for people to evade suspicion, he said. Seriously? People in government are under a lot of scrutiny. Somebody knew. My opinion of it is that the reason that she went undetected for more than a decade is because someone else was getting a piece of her pie. Someone else was getting a piece of her pie. Tuck says angry prepper and a couple more. Angry prepper, he's that firefighter, correct? And I haven't watched him in a long time. But he was the firefighter, and I think he started off on, what's the name of that show? The Doomsday Prepper. Wasn't he on featured on Doomsday Prepper, and that's what jumped his show off? And of course, Doctor of Common Sense had the FBI come to his house also. But yeah, I mean, she went undetected, not because no one was watching her, but because whoever was watching her might also be getting a taste. Because a lot of that goes on in government. And it's kind of funny how they want to put out an article speculating about that. And Tuck says FBI visited him a few weeks ago. Really? Okay, yeah, I haven't watched that in a long, long time. Angry Prepper. It's too angry for my taste. And the warden is here. Glad you could make it. And Helter says Hochul got caught with her hand in the cookie jar and decided to cut her losses. Yeah, well, they cut her loose a year ago because they said they were getting suspicious about her. But I think the reality of it is that they felt like the watchdogs were getting too close and they didn't want to get pulled down with it. And speaking of getting pulled down with it, because there is an extension to this story. Okay. There is an extension to this story because there is another agent that is being fingered in the New York government. Daily Caller has this article. Democratic representative serves as honorary chairwoman of organization reportedly linked to the Chinese intel agencies. New York Democratic Representative Grace Meng has a long-standing tie to an organization reportedly linked to the Chinese intelligence agency and alleged Communist Party operatives. The Daily Caller News Foundation has found. This is breaking news, and that's Meng right here. If I get the thing to open up right. Grace Meng, Democratic representative in the state of New York. There she is. It says the Department of Justice on Tuesday indicted Linda Sun, who served in 2 New York governor's offices, as well as Meng's chief of staff, while she served in the state assembly for allegedly acting as an unregistered foreign agent of China and money laundering. The Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday that Sun met the heads of key groups identifiable in the indictment as being United Front linked, including the U.S. Federation of Chinese American Entrepreneurs and the Henan Association of Eastern America. China's so-called United Front strategy of influence and intelligence collection is overseen by a Chinese intelligence service called the United Front Work Department. The heads of these groups were supervised, directed, and controlled by Chinese government officials, according to the Department of Justice. Meng has been associated with Henan Association of Eastern America, a New York-based organization, for over a decade. She previously served as the deputy chairwoman, according to archived versions of HAEA's website, and the group now prominently identifies the Congresswoman as an honorary chairwoman. Meng was not named in the Department of Justice indictment, and her office did not return multiple requests for comment. I bet she won't. The Department of Justice indictment, however, does note that one of Sun's alleged unnamed co-conspirators, known as CC1, served as the president of an association of persons from Henan Province, PRCs located in the New York metropolitan area. The indictment describes CC1's organization, Association 1, and as a non-profit 501c3 organization closely associated with the United Front Work Department and the Chinese Communist Party. So yeah, Representative Meng here may be going down with the ship. And Damien is here. He says, my can't deal with is the WTF, the apocalypse is coming tomorrow type of prepper videos. If the sky is falling so soon, that's not even enough time to prep and lowers motivation. I don't blame you, Damien. I did a video about that a long time ago. I haven't done a video on Prepper University in a while because there was no point. If I put a video out, it either got taken down or it was blocked. That's why the last one I put up only has like 500 views on it. You know, I used to get tens of thousands of views on a video. So YouTube is crushing it so bad. It's really discouraging, to say the least. And John is here. He says, hello, hi, fellow cat shepherd. I've only got one in the room right now, Monkey. He's sleeping behind me. And Monkey says, the other Monkey, if this is happening in New York, then maybe it's time to check off 49 other states for any moles from the CCP. No kidding. No kidding, because I bet you that it's going on all across the board. I thought that was important. And again, that is breaking news. That's just coming out that she is connected to that she is connected to that organization. And what's going to be done about it? What's going to be said about it? Anything? Anything? Now, here's something I'm going to share with you, okay? This is not in the news at all. I've looked, but it should be in the news. And the only reason I know about it is because of my mother-in-law, okay? And we got an emergency mass email over the weekend from the nursing home. Let me show it to you. This should be national news. It says, this morning at approximately 1 a.m., we were alerted by our EMAR team, PCC, that there was a nationwide outage within the network. This impacted our ability to log in, document, and administer medication or treatments in the EMAR. We notified physicians. Our teams have worked diligently to utilize backup systems to print medication and treatment orders in order to continue the commitment to quality care. Some changes were encountered. However, we believe no negative outcomes have been reported. Okay, so basically what they're talking about here, and for the, and I've seen this this operation before, the EMAR and their national database. A lot of hospitals, nursing homes, and group homes and mental health facilities use a system like that, okay? And rather than chart the music, I don't know where that came from. Rather than chart the medication, like how we used to do, when I was doing that, it was a book, and you filled it out, and you filled little cups or whatever with everybody's medications, and you gave them their medications, and then you signed off in the books, okay? With that system, you're doing it all digitally. So without that system, you don't know who gets what, and there's no way to log it in or out. And they had to go and print out backups and hope that they didn't screw it up, and then said that we think we didn't make any mistakes. It says, challenges were encountered. However, we believe no negative outcomes have been reported. But essentially, this is on a nationwide database. So you're telling me effectively in that email that all across the country, nursing homes, hospitals, group homes, mental health care facilities, and so on, couldn't distribute medication, at least not properly, because they're relying too much on a database system. And they had no plausible backup. Because to me, there should be a hard copy. I think everybody should have to fill it out. I think everybody should have to fill out a chart to keep track of the meds that are distributed daily. And just because nothing went wrong at this facility doesn't mean that something didn't go wrong at a different one. And I think that's important. And I've seen no news about that at all. No news about a nationwide outage in medication distribution across the medical industry. That's pretty serious. And that's also the trap of technology. And you think about now, like, for example, Windows Office is a good example of this. Windows Office used to be in your computer. You had it on a disk, you put it in your system, okay? And sometimes it would get updated, perhaps. Now, most people, they don't have it in their computer anymore. It's in the cloud, as it were. It's on Microsoft's database, so you're contacting Microsoft to access your own files. If something goes wrong with Microsoft Windows, for example, suddenly half the country can't access their files because they're all on the same system. Everybody's got their eggs all in one basket. Brian says they silence your videos, but not leftist, vulgar, and annoying slutty music videos. No, apparently not. If I was Sexy Red, I'd have like 8 million views a video. If anybody even knows who Sexy Red is. I know of that person. I couldn't name a song or anything. And then Nature Nerd says the government could walk into your internet service provider or phone carrier and see everything you've searched without a warrant. Yeah, not only that, but again, if it's in the cloud, it's not yours, it's theirs. So you're giving it away and then borrowing it back. They can do whatever they want with it. They can do whatever they want with it. And I'm trying to remember, I remember reading an article some time ago about a guy who saw his own face on a billboard in some kind of advertisement because they open sourced, just looked for people for advertising purposes. He's like, well, what the hell is this? And there's nothing he can do about it because his pictures were on open sourced format. And so they pulled a picture off of Google and threw him up on a billboard. Jericho says, got to keep those cats on the camera to get views. I don't know about that. Well, he's right here. You can't fully see him, but he's actually right here right now. And Brian says, thanks a lot, Bill Gates. Well, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. They're all doing it. They're all doing it. They're all doing it. They're all lying about it. And Semper says they're slowly stepping away from social media. I don't blame you. All media, not just social media. There's Monkey. You see him standing up? Hey, buddy. All media, not just social media, is toxic. It is. It's toxic. And it'll wear you out. And it'll wear you down. And half of it's all lies and bullshit and propaganda anyways. And the warden says, unfortunately, yes, we do know who Sexy Red is. Oh, unfortunately, yes, we do know who not Sexy Red is. Oh, not, yeah, she's not sexy. That's just her name. But yeah, unfortunately, they do know who he is. Hi, buddy. How you doing? How you doing, my friend? Nature Nerd says, how will Brazil push back and protect their freedom of speech online? How are we any different from China in both South America and the UK and EU? Censoring the internet and arresting people. Well, you can't. People don't have the fight that they think they do. I don't know how Brazil is going to do it. I don't know. We can barely do it here. And we're in a better position in the Western world to push back than anywhere else. And most people just won't be bothered. They won't be bothered. Isn't that right, my friend? Hi, kitty. Where are you going? There he is. See the camera, monkey? You don't want to look at the camera, huh? What are you doing? Nothing? It's all right. Here, sit down. It's okay, monkey. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. And like I said, he's feeling better. There's very little that can be done. There's very little that can be done. You're going to start the whole beard thing now? You're going to start the beard now? He does that to me in the middle of the night, this bit right here, because he loves the beard, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night with him like digging his paws in it and rubbing his nose on my chin. So I catch up a couple more comments and then we'll move on. Jericho says, speaking of toxic media, what or how do you suggest one would homeschool their kids outside of online programs? The public schools are apparently failing, and I want to know how to go on that route. Well, you don't have to get it in an online program, because there are books and texts available, and there are companies that will sell hard copy. Golly, there are he's very distracting. There are companies that will sell hard copy source materials, so you can buy workbooks with actual worksheets and study materials and all of that. There are companies out there that do not do the online thing for homeschooling. And if you wanted to go that route, you could find that. You could look that up. Off the top of my head, I can't name one, but I have seen them. You just got to find a company that wants to do it that way. Semper says they can't deal with all the crazy things online. You're informing people about truths, but you're shadow banned and demonetized while others are allowed to spew hate and fear. I know, and that's the trade-off, because I could do that. I bet you if I could do that, or if I decided to do that, there would be a reversal. Suddenly I'd get tons of views and everything else, but I don't want to go in that direction. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the sellout. Jericho said, sorry, it's off topic, but I recall you knowing about that. That's exactly what I want. To be honest, guess I have to look around. Yeah, you'll find it. You search around on the internet, you'll find some websites with some homeschooling source materials, and then you can get actual books and actual worksheets and things like that you can do it physically with, instead of being online with it. Because I get it, you don't need to be sitting in front of a computer all the time. You don't need to be sitting in front of it your whole life. These kids are missing out on real life experience sitting in front of the computer screen or sitting in front of their phone all day. It's really pathetic. India Today, talking about dishonesty in politics. There's a grumpy old man photo there, if I ever saw one. He does not look happy. Apparently, Biden lied. Oh, you can't be telling me that. Come on, man. Biden wasn't totally honest and forthcoming. Biden lied, pulled out U.S. forces from Afghanistan against military advice, according to reports. No kidding. No kidding. He was advised not to do that, because you see what happened. Says U.S. President Joe Biden was adamant on getting out of Afghanistan and ignored the advice of the U.S. military, the Afghanistan government, and NATO. This was revealed in a House Foreign Affairs Committee report, which was a result of a more than 2-year investigation into America's Afghanistan withdrawal, according to a report discussed by a report on September 8th. I wonder if that's a typo. During his decades-long tenure as Delaware U.S. Senator, 8 years as Vice President of the United States, and nearly 4 years as President, Mr. Biden has demonstrated distrust of America's military experts and advisors, and has prioritized policies and his personal legacy over America's national security interests, the 350-page report reveals. That's bold. The involvement of Kamala Harris or any kind of blame has not been mentioned in that report. The sparse mention of Harris in the report led to the resignation of the senior investigator, Jerry Dunleavy, according to the New York Post. I don't care about that. The report also added that the Biden administration constantly lied to the American people to get them to support its end to the 20-year-old war in Afghanistan. Former U.S. President Trump's administration created and entered the Doha Agreement with the Afghan government and the Taliban regarding America's war in Afghanistan, but Biden did not pay attention to those terms of the agreement that the U.S. would withdraw its troops from Afghanistan if demands were heard. The terrorist group would then cut its ties with Al-Qaeda and the other terrorist organizations, stopping attacks on the U.S. and coalition troops. This would lead to less violence against Afghan forces and start negotiations with the Afghan government, according to the report. So there was still a lot of ground to cover. There was still a lot of ground to cover. In Afghanistan, Biden took the attitude of, I'm going to do what the hell I damn want to. I don't care what the advisors say. The Afghan government is saying, please don't leave yet. It's too soon. NATO is saying it's a bad idea. The Pentagon saying it's a bad idea. And Biden says, I'm the president. Now do it. I damn please. Get off my lawn. Jericho says, yeah, I want one of those engagement. Don't one with engagement. He doesn't like the in loco parentis idea, not having rights to my kids in these camps. Yeah, talking about the homeschooling again there. Warden says Biden face looks like he's like he's going to the bathroom. He's filling his diaper. He's filling his diaper. That's what he's doing. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief he is. He looks a lot like Jeff Dunham's puppet. He's someone else's puppet, but he looks like Jeff Dunham's puppet. So now it's been revealed that he lied to the American people and that he ignored NATO, the Afghani government, and the Pentagon to force his personal agenda. And now what? What are you going to do with that report? You're going to hold it against him? You're going to put him in jail? You're going to hold him accountable? Are you going to make him answer for it? Are you even going to ask him about it? Let's go that far. Is anyone even going to question him? And if anyone did have the coconuts to question him, would they accept his answer? Because I can already tell you his answer is going to be snarkiness and anger. Snarkiness and anger. That's what he's going to do. Monkey says he looks like Walter. Yeah, that's the name of the puppet. Jeff Dunham's puppet, Walter, correct? How dare you accuse me? I'm the goddamn president, is going to be your response. He lied to the American people and he ignored military advisors. Who is surprised? And what will be done about it? Absolutely nothing. And that's one of the hardest parts about reading these news stories and seeing when stuff like that is exposed. Things that a few decades ago, someone would have been made to answer for it. Somehow, someone would have been held accountable. Not anymore. It just, so what? Who cares? Semper says they doubt Sleepy Joe remembers what he did last month, let alone 3 years ago. Oh, he remembers what he did 3 years ago, but he remembers it differently. He remembers it differently as he makes things up as he goes along. That's when his uncle was kidnapped by cannibals in the South Pacific. Stuff like that. You'll get a kick out of this story, or maybe not. Actually, this story is probably going to make you pretty upset. And I've seen several stories like this. So one more comment from Monkey. Funny enough, there's Jeff Dunham's video on YouTube with Walter impersonating as Biden and Trump. This is a Thai MBC. This is a Thailand news agency, which is probably why they have mail order brides pictured here. Thailand news agency, okay? This is true, though, because it's in local news in Springfield. Springfield, Ohio residents warn of pets and wildlife being hunted by Haitian migrants amidst massive demographic shift. Okay. And there's a picture there of a Haitian man carrying a couple of geese that he trapped at a local pond. So there we go. City of Springfield, Ohio, population 60,000, overwhelmed by 20,000 illegal Haitian migrants. Okay, think about that. Think about how much of a that's the destruction of that population. That's the destruction of that demographic. Springfield, Ohio, population 60,000, has been overwhelmed by 20,000 illegal Haitian migrants who flocked to the city, exacerbating a significant housing crisis, according to city officials, and eating people's pets and wildlife. During an August 27th City Commission meeting, one local resident said the Haitians were in the park grabbing ducks and cutting off their heads. Another local resident posted to a Facebook group that the neighbor had a cat going missing only to see it hanging from branches like you do for a deer for butchering. The Haitians carved it up and ate it. Oh my God. Resident Glenda Bailey told the city they've become the occupiers. What have they done if they've replaced? What they've done is replaced the population of Springfield. Tensions came to a boil last year after a illegal immigrant from Haiti caused a school bus crash last August, killing 11-year-old Aiden Clark after the child was thrown out of the emergency exit as the bus rolled off the road. 20 other students were injured. I didn't even see that in the news. Springfield has seen a surge in population through immigration that has significantly impacted our ability as a community to produce enough housing opportunities for all. Now, the reason that this in particular catches my eye, and again, why isn't this making the national rounds? Why am I picking this up either on local news stations or frickin' Thailand, for God's sake? I've seen similar stories out of Texas, out of Arizona, out of New Mexico, of migrants eating people's pets, catching wildlife at local parks and local ponds, like they said here, catching geese out at the park, catching ducks, eating or sacrificing the animals. That's a pretty big deal. So is the idea of having a town with 20,000 people, with 60,000, people, and diluting that town with 20,000 illegal immigrants from the same country. That's terrifying. That is terrifying. And Monkey says that's sickening. And Sven says there'll be cops soon, and then watch out. Oh man. And Helter says the people making the decisions will never be negatively impacted by them. That is true. Monkey reminds us Springfield isn't even a sanctuary city. And Nature Nerd says barbarians decimating the pristine wildlife in the U.S. without hunting tags. Because that's how it is where they are. And they eat that kind of stuff. Cats and dogs are on the menu in a lot of these places. And they don't care if it's someone's pet. They don't care if it belongs to somebody else. They're used to stealing. They're used to catching and eating whatever they can. And that you're not going to breed that out of them. You're not going to be like, oh, hey, you're an American now, Jack. Put that down. The taxpayers got catering for you. Okay, man. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That's them taking their evil, nasty habits. Because again, not only are they eating some of these animals, but there's been reports of like religious rituals and sacrifice and weird stuff going on too. And not just in Springfield. Why isn't this national news? Why isn't it national news that you dumped 20,000 people from one country into a small town like that. That small town is one of those towns where I guarantee you, again, this is my opinion, but I can almost guarantee that town council sold out that community for a tax break. Remember the article we read last week where they were offering that money up? Oh, we have another $380 million to give to smaller communities and suburban towns to take some of the migrants off of the big cities. And that they had already paid out like $1.5 billion or something like that to smaller communities. This is what happens. That town council probably sold those people out for a few dollars. Dragon says nothing will be done about the Haitians. These politicians have been bought and sold. They hold these forums so you think you have a voice. Yeah, you get your 3 minutes and they throw you the hell out. Nature Nerd says these people need to be deported back to Haiti. Eating people's pets is illegal. And Jericho says talk about a culture clash. No kidding. And Sven said consumption of blood, animal mostly, but when they want the big magic. And that is true. That is part of the reason why there are advocacy groups for the protection of albinos in Africa. There are many countries and provinces in Africa where the tribes there believe that if you sacrifice an albino, that you'll get, quote, big magic. They're in major danger in that country. They eat them. They eat them and they sacrifice them. It's scary. And Monkey says you forgot one thing. They're squatting into people's homes now. Yeah, that too. That too. Nature Nerd reminds us voodoo sacrifices is what Haiti's known for. I know. Watch Live and Let Die with Roger Moore. Roger Moore's best Bond film, by the way, in my opinion. Best Bond film, in my opinion. With the famous song by Wings, Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die. And if that's not offensive enough, I'll run you halfway across the country to Massachusetts. Fox News article, Massachusetts welfare recipients spending taxpayer funds in Hawaii and other vacation destinations. You gotta love it. Welfare recipients in Massachusetts spent taxpayer dollars while traveling to tropical vacation destinations and in states located thousands of miles away from New England, according to a new investigation by the Boston Herald. Public records requested by the Herald showed taxpayer-funded EBT cards. That's the SNAP card, the food stamp card. They call it EBT in Massachusetts. Were used in Hawaii, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, California, Florida, Alaska, and in several other locations across the country. Over $3 billion in federal and state money were doled out to recipients in the blue state in the fiscal year of 2024. So this year so far, $3 billion in welfare dollars. Oh my God. Oh my God. It says Massachusetts EBT dollars were spent in virtually every state in the U.S., including 165 cities and towns in California and in 293 locations in Florida, because that card is like a credit card and you can swipe it anywhere. So if I'm in Massachusetts, okay, and let's say I'm on welfare and I've got an EBT card, just for context, and I have a relative who lives in New Hampshire and they died, and I'm going to the funeral. If I needed to, while I'm in New Hampshire, I can swipe that card and I can get cash or food stamps out of it. You know, whatever my benefit is. Okay, I can get my food stamps or whatever and use it there. You can use it anywhere in the U.S. and not just the continental U.S., because the Virgin Islands was noted here, Hawaii was noted here, Alaska was noted here. And these people are taking these EBT cards on vacation with them and using them. And I'm like, if you're on welfare, how the hell are you affording a vacation in Hawaii or the Virgin Islands? I can't afford it. Sven says they need to be an illegal. Well, they're not necessarily illegals, just run-of-the-mill welfare recipients. And Nature Nerd says tax dollars should stay in that state, but the federal government makes taxes sent across the country pointlessly. Yeah, and that used to be the thing. Or you could carry it with you. When it was Department of Agriculture money, real food stamps in the coupon book, and you had to pull it out of the coupon book, okay? You could still transport that across state lines because it was traded like cash. But then when they first started rolling it out on the card program, you had to use it in that state. And as a matter of fact, in Massachusetts, when you had your card, you also got a state ID from the Department of Public Welfare that looked like a driver's license, but it said that it was from the state welfare program on the card. And when you used your card, when you swiped your benefits card, your EBT card in this case, you would have to show the cashier your ID, and you had to be from that state. But they've done away with all that. There's no more state ID like that, as far as I know. And you can swipe your card anywhere on U.S. soil, no matter where it is. And Marvel Fan misses the paper food stamps. You can buy them on eBay. They don't cost much. There's a million of them on eBay, seriously. If you ever just wanted to collect one. And he says they were easy to use. Those are in the days of the 5-pound brick of cheese that came in the cardboard box. Dragon says happens all the time. People know how to manipulate the system. You can own cash business and still qualify to collect welfare when they, on paper, lose money every year. Same goes for drug dealers. But that's nice to know. And this is not something, I mean, that's public record. It's not hard to find out where those cards are being used because there is a paper trail, or a digital trail, I should say. There's a digital trail. So the welfare department knows that these are being used out of state. And in cases like this, where it's like you're in the Virgin Islands, you're from Massachusetts, you're on welfare, what the hell are you doing in the Virgin Islands? How did you afford that? How did you afford that on public assistance? I'd like to know. I can't go to the Virgin Islands. What the hell? And again, there is a lot of fraud. There is so much fraud in those systems, and they won't investigate it because they sit there and they're like, oh, well, you're trying to oppress poor people. Oh, they're poor and they're downtrodden and they're just trying to make their way and they're on welfare. And how dare you? How dare you demand that they take a drug test in order to get their benefits? How dare you demand that they do volunteer work, which was the original workfare program, courtesy of Ronald Reagan. He started that. How dare you do that to these poor downtrodden people that are just trying to get by? And almost everyone I've ever seen getting any kind of assistance was defrauding it one way or another, getting free daycare, dumping their kids off and going home and watching soap operas or going back to sleep and not looking for work, which is why you're supposed to get the free daycare. It's insane. Monkey says trips there are expensive as hell. Yeah, what's a flight to Hawaii cost these days? How much is a hotel room in Hawaii cost? Give me a freaking break. And Marvel Fan says, I know a few here. They buy the cards. Yeah, 50 cents on the dollar. It's an easy way to save money. And I've talked about that before. That's been the going rate for decades, way back to when my mother was on welfare. She didn't sell hers, though. Oh, no, she would stockpile them back when it was the food coupons, when it was the actual stamps. And she would spend as little as possible and save them up just in case she didn't have them for whatever reason. It's one of the few smart things that she did. But yeah, people would sell them all the time. Nature Nerd says people always take advantage of the system in U.S. territories like the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is one of those vacation spots that was mentioned. And Jericho says, cannot stand government support. It enables laziness. I agree. I agree. And Tuck says their wife has family in the Bahamas. We could stay there for free if we want, but still can't afford the actual trip. How the hell are they going to the U.S. Virgin Islands? I don't know, because it is expensive. Man, that's why it's a vacation spot for most people. And Monkey says, quick search, it's $400 for a one stop from Boston to the Virgin Islands. Is that one-way economy? Because I assume you'd want a round trip. If that's even accurate. If that's even accurate, and then you go to buy the ticket and it's something else. You never know. But anyways, we're getting close to the top of the hour. So I will go ahead and start signing off. Monkey is still here. He's been with me the whole time. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk. So you can find me Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. Podcasting out of Atlanta most of the time. No, Monday through Friday, different times though. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the